think I've done all my admin. And I'm going to introduce the new CEO of Innovate Finance, Charlotte Crosswell, who's going to welcome you to the event.
Thank you. Well, good morning. I'd like to welcome you all to Innovate Finance's very first FinTech Growth Forum. Today, we aim to enable our community to share experiences on growing FinTech businesses and to learn from each other. We hope that participating in the forum will strengthen the ties in our ecosystem and help members obtain the insight and connections to innovate at scale. Your vision and ideas are important to us, as they are the foundations for the future of financial services. In both B2C and B2B FinTech, you, our members, are representing a very broad and exciting industry that continues to thrive in the UK. And we want to support this success and do what we can to help you scale better and faster. Before we start, I thought it would be helpful to tell you a little bit about myself and the career journey that has brought me here today as the new CEO. I have spent over 20 years in the city, working mainly in market infrastructure roles, and know firsthand the effort and pain points involved in raising money and helping companies scale up and expand locally and further afield. I was exposed to the world of technology back in the 90s and have retained the passion for the sector ever since. I was subsequently with NASDAQ, where I founded and launched 2 exchanges, and it was there where I had the opportunity to be exposed to the exciting FinTech developments that surround exchanges and are driving them and the financial services industry to be more efficient and innovative. More recently, I left the exchange world to work with startups, government, advisors, VCs, and institutions to help ensure we retain and grow this exciting sector, which I'm very honoured to be part of, especially in my new role. This role takes me to the heart of the ecosystem, and I, along with my team, are committed to working with you to make sure your success continues in the future. FinTech is so important to the UK. The industry is now worth almost £7 billion to our economy, and employs 60,000 people across the UK. The UK is also regarded as Europe's FinTech capital, with at least 4 businesses with a valuation of over £1 billion, and 7 more FinTech companies expected to join this elite group in the near future. With this forum, we've worked hard to bring everything you need to scale a business under one roof. There are many highlights for the day. Not only do we have over 50 of the biggest names in FinTech sharing their scaling journeys with us, but we're also hosting 7 terrific workshops led by sponsors, members, or the Innovate Finance team. If you are looking for support with pitching to media, complying with incoming data requirements, negotiating term sheets, building an inclusive workforce, feeding into the government's talent policy, or designing your workspace better, look out for the sessions running in parallel. I also encourage investors, institutions, and journalists in the room to take advantage of the day by meeting the latest and most innovative startups here and strengthening your relationship with our ecosystem. When Innovate Finance was founded 3 years ago, we had 54 members and a vision to support them through policy work, programs, and promotion. Our then Chancellor, George Osborne, in his keynote address at the launch, said he wanted London to become the global centre for FinTech. We have become that now, and we can continue to thrive at the top because the UK has the key ingredients to do so. We have the infrastructure, the skills, the capital, favourable regulation, and the entrepreneurial drive to remain the centre of global FinTech in the future. And with or without Brexit, our FinTech entrepreneurs are carrying on with their vision and creating innovations that are pioneering and transforming financial services. 3 years since Innovate Finance's launch, we have grown to over 285 members, a third of which are startups that have come from all over the world to scale and grow in the UK. Innovate Finance brings a level of expertise to the community that is channeled through initiatives such as our member peer working groups, the CXO forums we launched this summer, or the industry sandbox on which we consulted and are now exploring as a programme. In the capital space, we provide critical data to the community, partners and government, such as our regular VC investment landscapes. And let's not forget our annual Global Summit, the most prestigious FinTech event in the world. We hope you will join us next year on March 18th and 19th for the 4th annual IFGS, taking place once again at the iconic Guildhall in the City of London. It really will be an event not to be missed, for London is the blueprint for FinTech, and people come from all over the world to understand why we do FinTech so well. Our sector is not only buoyant, but optimistic. A census of UK FinTech firms by EY and Innovate Finance was published recently, the first of its kind. It was based on a study of just under 250 fintech companies and conducted on behalf of HMT. Half of our respondents said they were extremely positive about their revenue streams and were expecting global revenue growth of over 100% in the next 12 months. And a third of respondents revealed that they expected to IPO in the next 5 years, as well as plans to expand to North America and Europe and build strong talent bases for their firms. These responses clearly indicate the ambition of our larger fintech firms, but we also know there are many issues that can impede that growth. As the census shows, a main concern for most of you is access to talent, particularly coding and software development, one of the issues we address at this forum today. This isn't surprising given the truly global race for talent, with 30% of our member founders here in the UK and 40% of all tech workers in Silicon Valley being born outside of their domestic market. Very few, if any, global ecosystems can thrive without attracting the best and brightest from around the world. In respects to talent, I was encouraged by Philip Hammond's recent comments on acknowledging the need for clarity for financial services and his priority to ensure the UK remains the global hub of fintech. We know there are choices for entrepreneurs, so I want to make it a priority to understand and highlight obstacles of hiring talent for startups as they grow and scale in the UK. We will work with you and the government to continue to provide the essential research and data so we can continue to attract top talent to our sector. We have already responded at a grassroots level by connecting people who can help one another to educate or find and nurture that talent. But we know that's not enough, and that government also plays a key role here. We back the government's digital strategy, which came out earlier this year, and looks at the skills development from early stages right through to adulthood, particularly with a view to including coding in the national school curriculum and to launch programs such as the Digital Skills Partnership, which is about government working with partners such as tech firms, coding schools, and local businesses to train and help people access digitally focused jobs across the UK. On other key topics, our community is also concerned at the rate at which customers are adopting fintech services and how we can expedite this. How can our members heighten awareness about their innovations to the masses? And crucially, how can they win over consumers and businesses that might be skeptical about trying new innovations? Creating a diverse workforce in fintech is also something we must continue to develop, a topic we also address today, including getting more women and minorities to join the fintech movement. I'm glad I can say I've actually changed the statistics by one at least. When we speak to our community, it's evident that everyone is open to and wants a more diverse workforce that is reflective of the customers they serve. But in order to achieve this, we do need to address some major challenges to boost the numbers, such as the STEM skills gap. Currently in the UK, there are 40,000 STEM jobs that remain occupied because we don't have the local talent to fill those roles. So with only 14.4% of all working people in STEM occupations, diversity could help plug this critical shortage of talent in high-skilled occupations. You, our members, have also told there needs to be more done to diversify and support the capital that drives our sector. Recovering from a temporary dip in the aftermath of the EU referendum result, fintech continues to see growing levels of investment pouring in, with UK investment for H1 this year 37% higher than in 2016. A report that we published today with Magister Advisors also reveals a robust late-stage investment landscape in the UK and across Europe. The findings show an increased demand for $20 million plus rounds, with a notable spike in the role of strategic corporate capital. However, Europe has yet to see a venture capital-backed fintech IPO, so unlocking liquidity for fintech M&A exits or IPOs will be a major issue in our ecosystem as fintech matures. We must do more to support the growth of our ambitious firms, and we must do this together. Thank you to all our members for playing a part in creating this unique ecosystem. Thank you for helping us to build a strong community. I also want to thank the sponsors that have helped Innovate Finance in its own unique scaling journey and been so instrumental in enabling us to host this event. They include our platinum sponsor, Hogan Lovells, as well as sponsors Allen Overy, Broadgate, Lloyds Banking Group, JBM, and Venture Founders. Finally, a special thank you to the City of London, who continue to support Innovate Finance and are vital to helping us do our important work, and to Broadgate, who are supporting in creating a new fintech hub right here in the city. We have moved to their 2FA building on the Broadgate campus, and along with other fintech firms such as Starling Bank, aim to transform Broadgate into a hub for technology and creative businesses. We'll also use this new location as a springboard to increase our presence across the rest of the UK over the next 12 months. We know it takes a nation to drive innovation, and our FinTech talent is based not only in London, but in Manchester, Leeds and Edinburgh, to name just a few cities with successful FinTech firms. We're thrilled that so many of you come today. On behalf of the Innovate Finance team, I want to welcome all of you again to the forum and hope you will learn and enjoy the experience. We want to use this opportunity to reinforce our commitment to our members and to ensure that we are committed to serving you, and we are here to help at every stage of your scaling journey. We have a busy day ahead of us. We hope you make the most of it, and I look forward to meeting many of you throughout the day. Thank you.
So the FinTech community has many stories about large banks opening up their doors to attract more people of an entrepreneurial mindset. And equally, there are stories of people leaving large institutions to go start their own businesses. So our welcome keynote will be talking about the latter of that journey. So I'd like to welcome onto the stage the former Barclays Bank CEO and now Executive Chairman of 10X Future Technologies, Anthony Jenkins.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Is anybody out there? Are you awake? Have you had your coffee? Congratulations. Congratulations, because in my view, we are officially at the end of the beginning. The end of the beginning of the FinTech revolution. And this revolution is really important. It really matters. Effective, fair, transparent financial systems sit at the heart of vibrant and successful economies, and they sit at the heart of stable and growing societies. We cannot have a world in which we have fairness, equality, peace, without a fair, effective, and transparent financial system. And if the last 10 years has shown us anything, it's that the system that we have is anything but that. I saw that myself through 30-odd years of working for large banks around the world, and I see it today in my new role running a startup. Now, if you're out there in the startup world, congratulations to you. It's been a long, hard road, but if I look at every vertical, we're starting to see businesses gain real scale and traction. Peer-to-peer lending, payments, foreign exchange, DLT-based businesses, and so on. Red tech, compliance, legal. We are seeing traction in the startup scale-up segment. If you work for an incumbent, how many people here work for a big bank? Don't be embarrassed. There's nothing to be ashamed of. I did it myself. I'm a recovering banker. If you're out there working in a big bank, you know how hard it is to push through change in organizations that are geared to resist change, not because they're run by bad people, but because of the risk aversion that you see in very large organizations. And if you are here representing a regulator or a law firm or an accountant firm or a management consulting, congratulations to you too, because you've been part of this catalyst of change that we've seen. And I think you're exactly right. London leads the way in this regard. So there is a lot that we should feel really good about as we begin this important day today. 2 years ago, I gave a speech at Chatham House, and in that speech, I talked about approaching the Uber moments in financial services. And what I really meant there was the point at which technology creates transformation in an industry, just as Uber was doing in the road transportation industry. And in my view, we are starting to see some of those Uber moments come through. If I look at what's happened with mobile banking, for example, mobile banking, particularly in this country, has seen mass adoption and has seen consequently a reduction, a very significant reduction in branch traffic. If we think about contactless technology, we've seen mass adoption of contactless technology, which again has created reduction of cash coming out of ATMs. We're beginning to see those points of transformation. Now, in many ways, it doesn't really matter whether that transformation is coming out of large incumbents or fintechs or a combination of the two, because it's all good. It's all good for society. It's all good for the economy. But when I gave that speech about Uber Moments, I also said that this was going to have an effect on the industry, and I expected that something like 50% of jobs would go out of the industry in the next decade, and that about 50% of branches would close. I think I've actually been wrong on the underestimation side of the branch closures. That's happening much faster because of these technology moments. And I also recently talked about Kodak moments. Now, many of you will be familiar with Kodak. The older people in the audience like me will remember when you went on your family holiday, you went and bought some Kodak film, and your choices were 24, 36, or if you were really flush, 48 exposures. You put that in your camera, you took the pictures, yes sir, you remember, you took the pictures, you came home, you took the film to the chemist, you realized that of the 24 pictures you took, half of them were rubbish, but you still had to pay for them to be developed. That was Kodak. Kodak dominated the world of film and film manufacture. They were really good at it. They actually also invented digital photography. But they could not get their minds around a world in which somebody would want to take thousands of pictures. It doesn't matter that 999 of them are rubbish, because you just delete them. Their mental model couldn't shift to a different world, even though technologically they understood how to do digital. They always thought digital was going to be a niche, a little niche activity. And the one thing that we've learned is when technologies reach a tipping point, they create transformation. And that's what I mean by Kodak moment. The point at which parts of our financial system become obsolete because there is a much, much better way to do this. Now, what is driving this? And I've seen this from both sides. I've seen this in my time at Barclays, and I've seen this in my time running 10x Future Technologies. You'll be pleased to know that this isn't going to be a 15-minute plug for 10x Future Technologies. It's not going to be that. But what I learned was, actually, the most important thing to understand is how the technology itself is changing. The things that are hyped in our world today are artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc., and distributed ledger technologies. Those are, if you do a keyword search or a cloud, that's what will come up. Now, those technologies are not possible without vast amounts of low-cost cloud computing technology. Even 3 years ago, it was not really possible to run those applications. And in 3 years' time, 6 years' time, 10 years' time, the capacity will increase again, the cost will fall. So the oxygen, if you like, of what's going to happen next exists in this very high quality, high capacity, low cost technology. So what does this all mean? How do we create this transformation in the next phase? What does it mean for incumbents? What does it mean for startups like my own? And I would like to give you 3 ideas to hold in your head as you go through today. Now, I called my business 10x Future Technologies for a reason. I called it that because I believe that our experience has shown that people only accept and adopt technologies when they make our lives significantly different and better. If you take out your phone, this is not an instruction, it's just an analogy. If you take out your phone and look at your screen, on your phone, there will be 3, 4, 5 apps that you love. It may be City Mapper, it might be WhatsApp, it might be Waze, whatever it is, right? Whatever it is you love, because that makes your life better. That makes your life 10 times better than it would be without that app. And if we're going to create transformation in financial services, we have to think about how to create things that are 10 times better for users. That could be a consumer, that could be somebody who works in a financial institution, that could be a regulator. That's the mindset that we have to have. That's the critical challenge that we must exert on ourselves. And in my own business, 10x Future Technologies, what we're trying to do is create a new platform for banking services. A new platform through the massive automation of data, that allows seamless customer experiences at very low cost for banks and others with total transparency. That's what we're doing at 10x. And we hold ourselves to that standard. We ask ourselves, is that really 10x? Because sometimes it's not. And in the day-to-day pressures of running the business I run or running a big bank, it's so tempting to cut the corners. But that won't work. That won't create the transformation that is possible in the future. That won't create the winners, whether you're an incumbent bank or whether you're a startup. The second thing is agility and speed. This, of course, is very obvious when you look at startups. But, of course, startups don't have, as I found, unlimited resource. They are making constant and dynamic trade-offs between what works today and what may work tomorrow. I had the CEO of a very large, well-known fintech business come talk to my company yesterday. They don't even have a public API. So this notion of speed and agility, what we focus on, matters as much for a big bank as it does for a startup, as it does for a business that's going through scaling and growth. And to create agility and speed, you really need to have, one, clarity of purpose, two, streamlined organizations, and three, people who are willing to work in that way. And this is hard, particularly for incumbents, because when you're an incumbent in a big bank like I was, you are programmed not to fail, not to make mistakes. Whereas, of course, in this world, making mistakes is valuable learning. I mean, you don't want to do something cavalier and stupid. But if you put a product out there and it doesn't quite work, well, that is learning that you can turn into something else. So this notion of speed and agility becomes incredibly important. And the third thing is collaboration. Now, there's a lot of sort of, in our space, there's a lot of sort of fads. There's a lot of sort of idea du jour. And one of the ideas that's going around now is, 3 years ago, fintech's going to change the world, challenge the big banks were dead. Now it's all about, well, actually, what we can do is we can collaborate. The fintechs have got something, the big banks have got lots of money, they've got brand, reputation. We can put that together, and that will be a good thing. And of course, intellectually, that's correct, but it's hard to do. It's hard to do because it's like a mouse and an elephant dancing. It's very difficult. It can be done, and when it happens, it's a beautiful thing, if you've ever seen it. But in reality, it's hard. So when we think about collaboration, we have to think about it quite broadly. We have to think about it as an ecosystem. If you're a big bank, who do I need to partner with? Not just in terms of fintechs I might want to invest in or people I want in my accelerator, but who can I really bring into the fold? And how do I kind of lessen my sort of procurement requirements? Not so I do something that's risky, but how do I just become more flexible in dealing with a business that isn't going to be able to show you 10 years of audited accounts because it only existed for 3 years? Yeah, how do I help that business that I want to partner with work with me? If you're a fintech yourself, I think we in the fintech world have to be much more open to collaboration with each other, because there's no brilliance that exists universally across the landscape. If somebody else has got a better capability, integrate it into what you're doing. That's what we're doing in 10x. We have an open API policy. We can integrate lots of different capability, and we're talking to many of you about doing that. So if I think about where we are, I would say we are definitely at the end of the beginning. We are definitely entering the era of transformation. This transformation is incredibly important for our society, not just here in the UK, but globally. I believe we can see a totally different financial system, or one that probably operates at something like 20% of the cost it operates today, that provides products and services much more broadly and much more fairly and more transparently. But in order to do this, we need to think big, we need to work at speed, and we need to collaborate. I wish you all the very best today, and thank you very much indeed.
So before we go on to our keynote session of the morning, I wanted to remind you that there are workshops starting alongside the sessions. And there are 2 workshops starting right now, one hosted by Hogan Levels, who's a platinum sponsor of this event. And this is looking